What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with a little bit of Stellaris gameplay. Stellaris is a real-time strategy game I recently discovered, and I have been playing it an absolute ton since I bought the game on Steam on sale about 2 weeks ago. I came across this game sort of randomly on YouTube. One of the regular people I watch on YouTube, they actually had advertisements for it on their channel. And I went and checked out the gameplay trailer, and then from there did a whole lot of research on the game, and it looked like something I would probably enjoy. It was on sale on Steam, so I went ahead and picked it up for my PC, and so far I'm absolutely loving it. Now, I'm not really into real-time strategy games. It's been a long time since I played one, probably since the first series of Warcraft games, which came out a long time ago, back when I was in college, before even the Warcraft MMO came out. Played a little SimCity here and there, but that's really my experience with real-time strategy games. So I didn't know if I would really like Stellaris, but one of the things that I really caught my eye with it was the emphasis on space exploration, the fleet system you have in the game, and how you really don't have to get too in-depth with designing the ground level. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of time on the planets building things. Building up armies and stuff. You actually are more geared towards building up your space fleet and colonizing planets and just exploring the galaxy. So it really looked like something I, needed to give a chance. So I went ahead and picked it up, started playing, and it's been great so far. Now, what you mainly do is you start off with an empire that you can create, or you can choose from some of the default ones they already have created. Like, there's a human empire you can start with on Earth. But the most fun kind of exists within the creation process when you start your own empire. This game has a very deep creation system that is one of the things I really love about certain video games, and it took me probably 45 minutes just to make my first empire, because I was reading all the different statistics and the traits you can give your species, all the different types of species you can pick from, the different alien races. You can make spider aliens, or cat aliens, or bird aliens, or humans with Vulcan ears, and there's just so many different customization options that you can do. Even from the initial startup of the game, you get to choose what kind of government you're going to be. Are you going to be a democracy? Are you going to be a plutocracy? Are you going to be a dictatorship? Are you going to rule with an iron fist and just conquer everyone in the galaxy? Or are you going to be more of a peaceful race that welcomes contact with other aliens and races and allows them to come into your borders and mingle with your own citizens? It's just really, really cool, and these choices that you make affect the ways you can play the game. If you go for more of a peaceful government type and more peaceful traits, then that takes away some of the military options, such as orbital bombardment and things that you could use later on in the game if you had a different type of government or empire. So there's a lot of really cool things, and that adds into a lot of replayability. I actually have 3 save files going right now in this game with 3 different races where I'm trying different things out. There's what they call Iron Man mode, which is you have to basically play an Iron Man mode where you're not allowed to reload save files, and you have to do that in order to unlock the achievements in the game on Steam. So I have 2 playthroughs in Iron Man mode, and then just a normal playthrough where I kind of can reload my save files if I screw something up, and that's kind of my trial and error playthrough that I do. But it's been really, really fun so far, just going around. You send out your ships to explore the nearby sectors once you start off in your area, and you have a construction ship that you can use to build mining stations and military stations and other things. You start off with your initial planet in a spaceport, and you can upgrade all of those as you go through it. You have different technology trees that you can upgrade throughout the game, where you unlock better power plants and weapons for your fleet and different kinds of ships, and upgrade levels for your starbase and your fleet yards and everything. And then you have to kind of manage your inventory as well. You have mining income and energy income that you get, but it also goes out every month when you're trying to manage your fleet. You have upkeep costs for all your different things. And that's kind of fun. Just the game is I've found it not very difficult so far in order to keep track of all that stuff, and it's really not too hard to manage all your all the expenses and things that you have to in order to keep your playthrough going at a nice pace. But I will say this, the game can be sort of frustrating at times, and this is coming from a new player, and I've also done some research on some of the Stellaris forums out there, and it seems that I've run into a lot of things that other people have run into, and that are some common complaints about the game. And one of them is that you can actually set the difficulty and the size of your galaxy at the start, what type of galaxy you're in, you know, how many other fallen empires there are. And basically a fallen empire is an empire that used to be incredibly powerful, but they've kind of reduced down to just a couple systems and lost their influence a little bit on the galaxy. And then you can also have competing empires, which are about start on the same level as you. And you can also choose the amount of primitive civilizations that are in the game, which is kind of cool. Like, you can actually go around, and as you're exploring, you'll find planets where life has just started, where there's a society there, but they're in an Iron Age or a Steam Age, and you can't really interact with them yet until they become like a spacefaring age, and then you can kind of interact with them and decide if you're going to sort of uplift them or help them out, or if you're going to just conquer them and make them a vassal of your system underneath your empire. But all kinds of cool stuff. But that's really the cause of also some of the frustration, is when you're first starting your playthrough. As you're a new player, you may not exactly know how the choices you're going to make when you're setting up your first galaxy are going to affect your playthrough. If you go for a larger galaxy, it's going to be a lot harder to conquer more area and get towards the end game. If you have more fallen empires in the game, it's going to be very difficult when you discover those fallen empires and they're very close to you and they may not like you. The same thing with the competing empires. If you have too many of them, it's going to be really hard to move around and conquer much of the galaxy on your own without having to forge alliances or join federations, or in some cases even become a vassal of some of these other more powerful empires. And the real issue I found early on, and I see this a lot and mentioned in some of the forums, is that every time I would encounter a fallen empire, they were really, really close by my starting location, and they were always xenophobic, which basically means they hate everybody. They don't want you coming near their space. They don't want you coming inside their borders. They don't want to have anything to do with you. If you try to communicate with them, they kind of just tell you to piss off. And they're usually always vastly more powerful than you. My first gameplay that I was doing, I actually encountered a fallen empire that was xenophobic, and they were probably about 6 or 7 systems away. I wasn't exactly encroaching on their borders, but I was exploring close enough to their border that they got mad at me, and they actually declared war on me, and they sent their fleet into my home system. Well, at this time, I'd been playing the game for maybe 4 or 5 hours. The highest fleet power at that time I could maybe manage was about 10,000. Well, their fleet shows up in my home system with a fleet power of 90,000. So they pretty much wiped out all my stuff, took over my home planet, and that was what I thought was going to be game over. But thankfully, in this instance, I actually had a treaty with another empire I had encountered. They had a much more powerful fleet. They actually sent their fleet into my home system and helped me drive these other guys out. But I had to start all over again, rebuilding all my stuff, and it was really frustrating because I'm like, you know, I'm barely even started. I don't really have anything built up yet. I can't even access some of the weapons or the ship types that I would even need to use to fight this type of fleet power. And here they come just rolling along and just obliterate all my stuff. So in my second playthrough, I had exactly the same thing occur. I tried a different galaxy type, and it was a spiral galaxy. And unfortunately, that sort of limits the way you can travel early on. And I, once again, ran up really close to another fallen empire, and they were xenophobic. And the same thing kind of happened. They were like, if you come near us, we're just going to come blow up all your stuff. So I couldn't really even go out and explore that area of the galaxy. So there's that. That can be kind of frustrating. So, and then in that playthrough, another thing I encountered was after we got past the stage with the fallen empire trying to bother me all the time, and I was actually starting to get some decent items. I'd got my fleet up to about 25,000. I was unlocking some better weapons, and you know, it was really starting to finally expand. Well, then what happened was they spawned these different events in game that are like major crisis events, and like in one case, I can't remember, it was like some kind of cosmic entity that was flying around, and it basically has like a fleet power of 50,000, and it destroys all your stuff in like one shot. So if it comes into your sector, you're pretty much screwed. And then in another sector, I found some kind of dimensional phantasm or something that basically can destroy any ship the minute it enters that sector. So it had wiped out my science ship as soon as I got there. And so I basically, those little areas, I couldn't even go explore them yet because I didn't have enough military power to go in there and take care of those events. And this was still fairly early in my playthrough. And again, I was like, you know, this is kind of detrimental to a new player. Someone, you know, unlike me, who I want to get through this and keep playing and experiencing the game, there's going to be people who kind of just quit and don't want to deal with that all the time. And at about the same time, there was another event in the galaxy where a former fallen empire went through what they call an awakening. And that is essentially that empire returns to its former power, it automatically gets a fleet with like 200,000 fleet power, and it just decides, hey, it puts everybody on notice and says, hey, we're coming and we're conquering everybody. You guys are all going to be underneath us, and if you resist, we're going to destroy you. And essentially, at that point, if you don't have a super powerful fleet, or you aren't friends with some other major empires, you're essentially going to play the rest of the game as a vassal, unless you want to get wiped off the face of the galaxy. So just some frustrating things that happened to me early on. So when I finally started my third playthrough, I went with a smaller galaxy size, and I reduced the number of starting empires and starting fallen empires, and really limited all that because I wanted to kind of stretch out a little bit and just explore and just learn and build up my stuff before I had to worry about any major conflicts. So the third playthrough has been very enjoyable because I haven't really had too many early issues. There's been some pirate fleets I've had to deal with, and that's really about it so far. So I'm actually getting to colonize a lot of planets and kind of stretch my wings a little bit and create sectors and get into some of the deeper stuff in the game, getting into some of the more advanced weapons and stuff that you can create through your engineering and your physics and things like that. So I'm really enjoying the game. It's really a lot of fun. If you're a fan of real-time strategy games, I think you definitely ought to give this game a look. To me, it really feels almost like you're playing an RTS version of something like Star Trek mixed in with like Mass Effect. It really has a Mass Effect feel to it. Like you're in this big galaxy with all these other aliens, and you kind of have to, come together and coexist. And there's going to be races that don't like anybody, kind of like the Batarians, who are going to always cause problems. And it's just really cool. All the different customization and how deep and immersive it is. Even when I'm not playing the game, I find myself kind of thinking about it. Like, what am I going to do? What planet am I going to colonize tonight? Are we going to be able to find some resources or build this new ship, or all kinds of stuff? And even with like your fleet, your ships, you can customize the loadout of all your ships, what weapons they carry, what their power sources are, whether they use shields or armor. The game has, to me at least, from my limited experience with RTS games, has a very deep customization, and allows you to really get into the game. And great soundtrack too. The soundtrack is it's kind of relaxing and upbeat at times. It's sort of like the Galaxy map music from Mass Effect, although it mixes up tracks quite a bit, and it lets you get lost in this feel of exploration. There are times I'll get on Stellaris and start playing, and I don't even realize it, and I look up and 2-3 hours have gone by. It's just that kind of game that just pulls you into it, and you just, I want to, there are nights I play where I need to go to bed, and I'm like playing, and I'm like, oh, I just found this planet, and I'm always terraform this other planet. I need to build a colony ship, and then I really need to go to bed, and then, oh no, there's a pirate ship, fleet attacking. I need to go destroy them, and I'm going to do that real quick and then the next thing you know, there are hours gone by, and then you're going into work the next day like a zombie. So that's the kind of game I've found Stellaris to be. It's kind of just kind of enjoyable, relaxing game that I'm not really planning on doing much with it on YouTube unless you guys want to see more content from it. I may just go through, and I feel like I have a good enough grasp on some of the early systems where I can make some videos for some newer players to kind of help them out with things like, customizing their fleet and building ships and things like that. But only if there's interest in it. And, if any of you guys are playing the game, feel free to let me know. This game also has a very deep mod community. You can actually get mods for the base game where it turns, like, there's a Mass Effect mod you can get for it where it lets you have the Normandy as one of your ship types, and you play as the Systems Alliance, or you can play as the Asari or any other race in Mass Effect. I think there's a Halo mod for it where it's like you've got the humans and the Covenant and all the different Halo ships and everything. So lots of really cool creative mods people have done for this game that really just deepens and enhances it if you want to get into that as well. If you want to just play the normal game too, though, it's very unique. There's a lot of different alien races, different ship designs, different building designs, and just overall it's very cool and unique and very deep. I've found it to be so far. So if any of you guys have checked this game out, if you're playing it, feel free to let me know down low in the comments, and let me know also, if you enjoy the game, if you found some of the similar frustrations I've had with it, and just what your overall thoughts are on it. Like I said, it's not something I plan on doing a lot with YouTube on, because it can be kind of a boring game at times to watch. In fact, in the background of the gameplay, I've actually had to speed up the gameplay, I think, to about 2 times to kind of make it flow a little bit better, because I play on normal speed, and it goes pretty slow. It's like, I think 1 second is 1 day in the game if you play on normal speed, so it can kind of just crawl along, and if you're watching it, that can get kind of boring. In this case, this was, I think, a 2-hour playthrough that I was doing, where I just kind of was recording video in the background, and When I got to the end of it, I was looking through it. I'm like, well, it's a 2-hour playthrough, and there's really only about maybe 30 minutes where anything exciting happens. So I'm going to try to highlight those areas and speed up through it. So, but anyways, guys, let me know what you thought about the game if you've played it, or what you think about the gameplay. If it's something that might interest you, and keep an eye on the game on Steam if you're interested in it. It does go on sale from time to time, and you can get a bundle that has all of the DLC that comes with it. They do make DLC packs for the game that expand the races and in-game events and create new structures and things, so it's very cool. They're definitely paying a lot of attention to the game. It's still kind of in its infancy, even though it's been out for a little while, and I look forward to getting through it and conquering my first galaxy and just having a good time with it. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you again next time.